Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. As you can tell by the title of this video, we are going to be talking about myths and lies that have been told about us as homemakers. Before we get too far into this video, I did want to go ahead and mention her right off the bat. We are doing a video in collaboration with my sweet friend all the way from Australia. Her name is Steph. I'm going to have her right here, and I'm also going to have her information linked down below in the description box. So be sure that once you're done watching my video, you go check her out. She is bringing us another 5, I believe, myths and lies that have been told about homemakers. This is something that we have talked about often, and it is something that we've kind of wanted to just talk about and kind of just get off of our chest and pour off of our hearts about the truth about the hardworking women in the homemaking community. So when you get done watching my video, please be sure to click on her link down below in the description box and go check her out. Subscribe to her channel for sure, and then comment down below on her video and let her know that I sent you and say hello. If you're over here from Steph's channel, my name is Kendra, and here on my channel you will find homemaking content, stay-at-home wife content, day-to-life videos, grocery hauls, shopping videos, cleaning motivation, just encouragement for women in today's world. And so I really hope that you choose to stick around if you're here from Steph's channel. It is so nice to meet you, and I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. It's completely free to you, and it means the absolute world to me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump into this video. I have about 6 or 7 myths I want to touch on. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So right off the bat, I think this is like the number one, or like the most common one that we hear, is that our husbands are rich and we are spoiled. I think it should be made known that most women who work outside their home part-time, and or women who are home full-time and they don't bring in a full-time income to help with their husband's income, and so women who live solely off of their husband's income, they, out of respect and honor for their husbands working so diligently for their family and for their household, they choose to live a more frugal, minimalistic, and simple lifestyle, which in my opinion is one of the best ways to live in what we know to be such a consumerism world. I think that they fully understand, and I would say that I even know, and because myself I do the same thing, we are fully aware that we, whether it be for a season or whether it be for like permanently, that is your norm. If you're living off of one income, or maybe just your husband's income and then your part-time income, you're fully aware that every single dollar matters when it comes into your home. And so we choose to live a more simple life. Most stay-at-home wives and stay-at-home moms go without most things that 2-income households have within their normal life. So things like subscriptions, grocery delivery services, even things like cable and internet. Those homes tend to go without those things because they know they live on a 1 income, and so they want to live as frugally and as minimalistic as possible. I know even in my own house, mind you, I've worked pretty much my whole entire marriage. I've just recently come home full-time, and I'm still bringing in an income, but I'm doing it as a stay-at-home wife. I'll be working a job remotely from home, but I know even me, I work full-time pretty much my whole entire marriage, and still out of respect for the income that comes in my home, I am sure to be careful about every dollar that I spend. I don't want my husband to see me taking our hard-earned income and just spending it all willy-nilly like it doesn't matter to me. We're called to be good stewards of our husband's hard work, and the Bible tells us to owe no man nothing. So we want to do our best to be debt-free. We want to do our best to be good stewards of our money, because if we believe what the scripture tells us, and that is, if God can trust us with little, then he can also trust us with much. So we want to be trusted with that 1 income, or that 1.5 income. Like if you're a homemaker and you work part-time, then you know we want to be trusted with those finances. We're called to be, if you're called to be a keeper of your home, that includes everything, not just coming home and sweeping the floor and making dinner, but the money, the budgeting, the expenses, the outsourcing of the funds. All of that falls on us. And so you'll find that 9 times out of 10, homemakers usually live a more frugal, simplistic, and minimalistic life out of respect for the fact that our husbands aren't millionaires and we're not rich and spoiled. Alright, the second myth is that most homemakers are lazy and they don't want to work. Number one, right off the bat, keeping a home and managing your home, it is project management, literally. And I would know, I've worked very closely with some project managers in my lifetime. Literally, the management of your home is just as if you were a project manager. It is work. So to say that homemakers, and I mean true homemakers, don't want to work and we're lazy, that is a false narrative. Because number one, homemakers don't get days off. We do it sick, we do it tired, we do it beat, It doesn't matter. Day and night, we're never done. We don't get a day off. We're off when we sleep at night, and then when we wake up, it's back to the grind. That's number one. And then number two, 9 times out of 10, a homemaker has had a job at one point or another. And most homemakers are some of the hardest working women you've ever met in your whole life. And that work ethic shows in the way they keep their home. And most homemakers, like myself, I work full time, and then I put more work into my home than I do even into my own job, because I want my work to have to fit into the pockets of my life. I don't want my life to have to fit into the pockets of my work. So like I said, many, if not most, or even all homemakers have previously worked a job outside the home and or inside the home. And we really are some of the most diligent workers you'll find, because we realize that the work and the stewardship of keeping a home comes with no days off. It doesn't come with vacation time. We're keepers of the home. This third one really gets on my nerves, and I'm gonna try to keep it short. But this third myth, I hear it all the time, is, oh, you're a stay-at-home wife, are you a mom? This myth is that if you're going to be a keeper at home, if you're going to be a homemaker, then that means you must have kids. That is your validation for being home. Management of the home is a full-time job. And I would even argue to say even more so, because I pull a whole lot more than 80 hours a week. I get up before my husband. I get up about 6 o'clock in the morning before he rolls out of bed, and I get things rolling for the day. My husband gets home around 8 p.m. and I'm still going until about 10 o'clock at night when I lay down at night. The management of your home is literally an irreplaceable position. You're not only a cook, you're not only housekeeping, you're also a scheduler, you're also an event planner, you're also, like I said, a project manager. There are so many things that we as homemakers do on the daily. I'm also the budgeter and the accountant. I work the finances. I watch the income and outcome of our money. I handle our grocery bill. I'm the meal planner. All these jobs and roles I do inside of my home. Homemaking is seriously such a heavy load, and every single day brings a new task. And it keeps us plenty busy every single day, almost 24/7. There's plenty for us to do as homemakers. There's plenty that keeps me busy, and that is true whether or not you have children. You're going to be very busy as a homemaker, regardless of whether you have kids in your home or whether you don't. Every single day brings new tasks. And then, like, I live in an apartment, for example, so you can only imagine if I had a home. Then I'd have land to tend to, and a lot of homemakers, they garden. I mean, it would be our dream to have a garden space and grow our own foods and eat off of our own land, and that in itself is a whole job. So whether or not a homemaker has children, you'd better believe she's staying plenty busy with the responsibilities and the tasks around her home. You do not need to have children to be a homemaker. This next one kind of ties in with that second tip that we talked about. Homemakers are lazy and don't want to work. And that is that homemakers do not, under any circumstances, work outside their home. That is a godforsaken lie. Like I said, I've been with my husband for we've been together for 4 years, and I've been married for 3 years, and I have worked outside my home up here until recently. I have worked completely outside my home, and I have still come home and homemade and took care of my home and been a keeper of my house full time since the day I met my husband. You can ask him yourself, and you can ask anybody who knows me. I take taking care of my home more seriously than I even took my own outside of the home job. So like I said, this is an absolute complete lie. This goes back to that tip we talked about with homemakers being lazy and not wanting to work. Homemakers, 9 times out of 10, whether you know it or not, homemakers might be bringing in, and I would say most of them bring in some type of income, whether it's through an Etsy shop, whether it's through a YouTube channel, whether they are like babysitting or dog sitting. It doesn't matter. There's ways to bring in money that are they call it like passive streams of income, without them having to go out into the workforce and be like in corporate America. Women who are home full-time and they keep their home and they take care of their children, maybe they homeschool their children, they do bring in an income. We need to get away from the narrative that if you are a homemaker, you don't bring in any money. Now, there are homemakers who are like they're strictly home, and they do take the route where they don't work and they don't have streams of income. But we do have lots of, especially in today's world, we're in 2022, there are so many women who bring in a stream of income while they stay home full time. And something else that's not talked about too often in like the homemaking community is, and especially like in the like trad wife community, which don't get me started on that, but like in the trad wife community, this is something that is hardly ever talked about. And that is that in your marriage, there are seasons of your life where a woman is called, as her role as her husband's helpmeet, she is called to go out and bring in an income, whether that be within her home or even outside of her home. There have been times where in seasons of life, and I know even for me, there have been times where I have had to go out and work a little more to suffice the income and supplement the income to help my husband for our livelihood and for our home. And I think that that's something that almost in the homemaking community can be like brought off as like shameful. Like, sorry, the battery died. But yeah, like it's like if you're, it's almost like it's like shunned if you're a homemaker and you have to like go work outside your home. So it's something that's not talked about. But there are seasons in this life you may be called. Maybe your husband fell ill, you know, maybe, you know, I even know women where their husbands have passed and now they need to go and work for the next foreseeable future. You know, you never know. Or maybe you're in a season of life where maybe you want to pay off debt. Maybe you want to have that car paid off. Maybe y'all are trying to reach a goal for savings. Maybe y'all are trying to reach a goal to buy a home. And so you are called on to work in your home for y'all's livelihood. And that's okay. It doesn't take away from the fact that you're a homemaker. So I just wanted to put that in there because as a full-time homemaker, I've also worked a full-time job my whole entire marriage life. And it doesn't make me any different from a woman who stays home and her job strictly is just the home. All right, this next tip, y'all, this next tip just, it hits home for me because for a long time I felt like I didn't, I don't know, fit the narrative. I don't know. But this next tip is that you need to be of a certain race, a certain religion, or you need to look a certain way in order to be a true homemaker. Let's talk about it. Christian, white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, conservative, dresses like you're from the 1950s, super feminine, all your clothes are white and blush pink, polka dotted, and you know, you're real small. Now, I want to preface by saying that if you look like that, or if this is how you dress, or if you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, you know, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I think you're absolutely beautiful and perfect however the Lord made you. But I will say, and this is again coming from a Christian woman, you don't have to be a Christian to be a homemaker. You don't have to be white, you don't have to be a conservative, you don't have to dress like you're from the 1950s. You can dress in all black, you can wear pants. Let's get away from the narrative that homemakers have a look, because they don't. Let's get away from that. You don't have to dress like you're from the 1950s. You don't have to be the most feminine woman in the whole entire world. You don't have to be a believer of Jesus Christ, that he came and died for your sins and died on the cross, rose on the third day. You don't have to believe in those things. Now, I believe in Jesus. I would 9 times out of 10, you're gonna catch me in a dress. But it doesn't mean that if I decided to wear pants, I'm any less of a homemaker. It doesn't mean that if my friend Susie Q over here didn't believe in Jesus, that all of a sudden she's not a homemaker. It doesn't mean that this beautiful Indian woman over here who is of the Hindu faith is not a homemaker. Because you have to remember, a lot of these other religions and cultures, the women stay home, but not because they're Christian, not because they want to live in the 1920s or the 1940s or the 1950s, but simply because that's what their culture or their religious belief calls for. So many other belief factors and so many other upbringings and so many other cultural backgrounds believe in this way of women staying home, and it has nothing to do with what we see on the timelines of our Instagram, or when you type in, you know, stay-at-home wife, or, you know, stay-at-home mom, or, you know, traditional homemaking. When you type these things in on YouTube, you only get like one picture of what that looks like. And the fact of the matter is, you've got the Hindu woman who stays home. You've got the Hispanic woman who may be a Catholic and maybe she stays home. You've got the woman who maybe doesn't have a faith, but she stays home. You've got the woman who maybe doesn't want children, but she still desires to be home. You've got the woman who maybe she's got 3-4 kids and she works from home, like she works for an actual corporate job from the comfort of her home. You know, you've got me. I am a black woman, African-American woman. I am not skinny by any means. I don't dress like I'm from the 1950s. lot of times you catch me walking around in like tights and this big shirt, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I'm still very much a homemaker. And so I think that that image and that narrative is very damaging to women and just to society in general. And I think we should get away from the narrative that you have to fit a certain model in order to be like a homemaker. That's just not true. And then, like I stated before, we need to remember that being a keeper at home as a woman, that is also like a biological innate like want and desire. There are plenty of women all around this world who have that innate desire to be home, because that it's biological. Taking religion completely out of it, women thrive at home. Most of us thrive in an environment where we're in complete control, going back to the whole project management role. Like, we just thrive in that role as handling everything from home, schooling our own children, nurturing our own children, taking care of our husbands, being readily available for our families and for our community. That is an environment where most women thrive. And I think that that should be normalized. All right, our next one is that most homemakers are oppressed, or we're forced to be home, or we're being abused. Now, I will say that there are situations where women are being abused and they are being held like captive, if you will, to live a life that they really don't want to live. There may be women who have a desire to go to school and get degrees and work outside the home, and maybe they're in a relationship where they're kind of bound up and their spouse is maybe mentally abusing them or verbally abusing them, and sometimes even physically abusing them and causing them to stay home so that way they can remain kind of over their control. But I will say that is most certainly not the norm. 9 times out of 10 situations like that is because you are not with a man, you are not with a real man who sees just how invaluable and irreplaceable and priceless you are. You are with a scared little boy who is afraid of rejection and needs to have power over a woman because he can't control his emotions, and maybe he's got some own traumas of his own, and he's just a pathetic excuse of a man, and he is not a real true man that understands and values you as a woman, whether you choose to be out in the workforce or whether you choose to come home and be home full-time. Most homemakers also are married to men where if I told my husband, hey babe, I want to go back and work outside the home, then my husband would be okay with that. Most of us are married to men where if we chose to find something to do outside of our home a couple days a week or 5 days a week, or go get a job or go back to school, our husbands would 110% support us. Again, because they honor us as their wife. They support us in all that we do. They're our biggest cheerleader. They let us chase our dreams, and whatever makes us happy makes them happy. So if we want to be home, if we want to work outside the home, if we want to go to school, if we want to try to do it all, then our husbands will support us. 9 times out of 10, we are not oppressed. We are not forced. We are not abused. This is not a lifestyle that we didn't choose. This was something that we happily chose. It's something that we wanted, and we are married to mature, 9 times out of 10 God-fearing adult men who honor and value the sanctity and femininity of a woman being home. And my last myth is that, and this is like the biggest lie in the whole wide world, and I could make a video on this. I could make a video on all these by themselves, but I could most certainly make a video on this one, and it is that homemakers are not benefiting their homes financially because we do not work and we do not bring in an income, and or we work part-time, or I mean, maybe we don't make as much, don't work as many hours, and so we don't bring in enough money into our home. Okay, first of all, this is the year 2022. You want to know why so many people have to work? Like, you want to know why there are so many homes where you need both spouses working? Because we live in a very consumeristic world. Everything is about getting the next phone, getting the next pair of shoes, getting the next handbag, getting the next hairdo, buying the newest outfit that's out on sale. This is a very, very consumeristic world. You're buying a car and then within 5 years you're wanting to trade it in, you're wanting a new one. Back years and years and years ago, the 20s, 30s, the 40s, the 50s, even the 60s, 70s, you bought something, you invested in something, and you held on to it forever. You bought a car, you drove that car until the wheels fall off. You bought a phone, you keep that phone until it turns black and it won't cut back on for you. You buy some shoes for work, you wear that same pair of shoes for work, and you wear them and wear them and wear them until you can't wear them no more. Because we live in a consumeristic world, we are sold the narrative that we have to work so that way we can live the life that is constantly fed to us through media, social media especially, but through commercials, through shows. There's even advertising in shows and movies that we just are blindly just consuming and absorbing and taking it in, and then we're wondering why we're never pleased with what we have. And that's going back to my very first point about husbands being rich and so we just spoil and live the life that we want. No. 9 times out of 10, we tap into that minimalistic and simplistic way of living and that frugal way of living, being happy with the things that we have. You know, whatever happened to thrifting, whatever happened to hand-me-downs, secondhand shops, vintage shops, consignment shops, or investing in something and buying a piece of furniture and holding on to it for forever. So that's number one. Number one, we live in a consumeristic world where we're kind of taught where you need to bring in X, Y, and Z amount of dollars so you can keep up with the Joneses. So yeah, I feel like if we tap back into what our ancestors have shown us, if we tap back into just that simple way of living and being happy with what we have and not always being so worried with what we could get our hands on next, then maybe we could afford to live on one income. And maybe the world, maybe we wouldn't be so consumeristic. Why is it that we buy a car and then in 2-3 years we're not happy with it anymore? Why is it that Apple's releasing a new phone every 4 to 6 months? But then we as women who don't work as much or don't work 40 hours or don't bring in as much money as our husbands or whatever the case may be, why is it that we're the problem? We're not contributing to our house financially. I'll tell you right now, if all we had was just our straight run-of-the-mill bills, rent, lights, our car insurance, and we didn't have two car payments, but we just had our run-of-the-mill bills, renter's insurance, car insurance, our rent, our lights, our cell phone bill, I wouldn't have to work. Our grocery bill isn't even that expensive, and then our gas bill will be little to nothing because my husband works right down the street and then I'm home. When you really think about it, like, are we the problem? Or is it more like because of the world that we live in, and so we're fed the narrative that if we don't bring in enough to kind of if we don't bring in enough to be able to play in today's world, in this consumeristic world, then all of a sudden we're not financially feeding to our family. That's where I'm at with it. All right, y'all, so this is a safe and loving community. Please feel free to leave some comments and statements and, you know, how you're feeling about other myths. Maybe there's some myths I didn't touch on and or Steph did not touch on in her video. Feel free to leave some comments down below. These are just some things we kind of wanted to talk about and get off of our chest. As always, I love you guys so much. Thank y'all for being here and just listening to me go on and on and on. Nothing like a good old sister chat. If you guys enjoy homemaking videos, stay-at-home wife content, faith content, vlogging, grocery hauls, all the things, do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that red subscribe button. Comment down below and say hi. Let me know if you are new, if you're here from Steph's channel, or if you are returning and just wanted to listen on this video. And then I will catch you guys in my next one. I love y'all so much. Bye-bye.